So let us continue from yesterday. So so yesterday we were discussing about the Visual Studio, so how it looks like, and today we'll show you the how the environment and everything which I showed you yesterday also, and we'll do the most of the work today and tomorrow on the Visual Studio and the environment part. So we have done this, like what are the main things, like how do you do the element creation, project model, and all those things. So the key things which you need to remember always, that element is nothing but whatever we are creating, our objects, our classes, tables, queries, view, all these things. This is what we call as our elements. Then those elements relate to my projects, the project relate to my model, and the model actually goes back to my package, and that package is the actual file, uh, or the culmination of all the files which we actually go and deploy, and then we can see our changes in our test or production system. So once I show you the architecture, when you will go into that, you will learn about it more, so how this is working. Okay, so this is the example of what we have discussed. So if you remember, so consider this one, AX model 1, and 3 developers, AX model 2 and 2 developers, so on, and they are working on same model, and these 2 developer working on the same model. Both of this model can be clubbed into one package, and this package I can use for my deployment. Okay, so this is the structure. Okay, so yeah, one thing I have added. So once I go on with the session, so actually I was looking into the slide, and I thought I can add few few Q&A, like small questions, once I keep on discussing the things for our own good also, because once I give you this slide, or before that we are discussing all these topics, maybe you are taking some notes, or you are doing some taking screenshot, but at the same time it can happen that you forget something what I tell, right? So at the end of each module, this is the first module we are discussing, we will be having small few questions for all the module, maybe 2-3 small questions I have kept it. I'll open it for everyone and you can just answer on that, so that we will see it later. So those things I added. So as I said, let us keep the class very interactive. So whenever I say something, you can just also come and take a part on that, so that so that it becomes more interactive, and I can understand also if I need to go slow, or I need to can fasten up all these things. Okay, so this will be the idea. Okay, so yeah, naming conventions, we will see how we do the naming and everything. So navigation area, I'll show you models. Yes, yeah, the to be important thing about models that I was discussing. So as I was saying, overlaying and extension, so very basic concepts. Extension, model, and overlaying. Extension, as I explained, is nothing but you have a model. Whenever Microsoft is giving you the package, it has created all these models, because Microsoft has developed this and it has all the models. Let's say you have a model for application suite, so that Microsoft has developed, and you are working on that. Maybe I come and say, okay, whenever someone vendor is sending me a purchase order, I am receiving the purchase order, and then I need to generate a document out of it. Correct? So it can happen, right? So the customization is the format of that document, or the orientation or the layout of the document needs to be changed. So this is your work. So whatever the changes that I will tell you, but your main idea is the purchase received document, the customization you should do, and you should change it according to the need. So what first thing, as a developer, you should understand what should be my approach. It should be, should I create a new model, should I go for existing model, should I go for extension or overlaying? So you understand that Microsoft has already written this code, I have to build something on top of that, that the report or the document is already existing, so I have to build on top of that. So I can have the extension on overlaying. Overlaying means you can just go and write everything over the model, so that means you can go and change it also. Correct? And extension means I can go I can create a kind of a parallel track to that model, and whatever changes I will be doing, it will be under my control, and my whatever changes Microsoft has done, it will be under Microsoft control. So it's basically the ownership concept. Your model, you are the owner. Whatever base system model, Microsoft is the owner. Whenever there is an upgrade, Microsoft will come and change its own objects, whichever Microsoft or the system is owning. Whenever you are doing any changes, you should be doing in your own model. That is the concept of the extension. So to answer the scenario, yes, we will be using an extension, and we will be seeing, okay, this is my purchase receipt document, which model it lies in. I'll go and see, find out, okay, this document lies in maybe application suite. Okay, then in the application suite, I'll create a new model based on the extension concept, and I will extend that application suite. Once that application suite is extended, that means I have the extension capability of all the models. Okay, and then only I can go and I can create or change whatever be our, like, whatever I need to change based on the requirement. That is a concept. But for overlaying, again, I can go and overlay the application suite model. What it will do, it will give me full access. So the object which is owned by Microsoft, that also I have the access to go and change. But the problem comes when there is an upgrade, and these documents or report, what we call in our Dynamics 365 as reports, these are very low country specific or localization specific. There are so many tax structure and all these things in this report. So whenever there are some changes, Microsoft keep on adding these changes. Consider the example of our India, and where we were coming from a VAT or service tax model to GST. All the tax structure also Microsoft has changed, right? So whenever you are receiving something, the price, based on the price, we are calculating the GST, IGST or CGST as GST, right? All these components are also coming into the report. So when the tax model structure change, Microsoft will definitely come and do the changes. So if you have done an overlaying on top of your purchase receiving report, where it is showing all the tax, price of the item and everything, so that will create a conflict, because you have written your code and now Microsoft comes and changes it completely. So that is the very basic concept of extension and overlaying. And as I said, whenever you go, the best practice is always go for an extension model. In some cases we may need to do overlaying, but as I said, that is not at all recommended, because whenever you'll create something overlaying, Microsoft will show you warning also, that we'll see later. Okay, so I hope everyone is keep.
Maitra, one quick question.
Yeah,
So when you're saying overlaying is that, does it mean we are developing and deploying a solution? Because you mentioned that Microsoft code is logged. So how can we do a overlaying? Is it like a kind of a separate add-on we develop and put on top
this,
of it, or?
yeah, it is not locked. Microsoft code is not locked or something like that. So previously what happened in the previous version, we had the complete control over the Microsoft code. So let's say in one of the classes, Microsoft has written 30 lines of code. Okay, now you have, as you have the admin, right, you have the complete control. You can go and you can write your own code after the 30 line of code, or in the middle you can go and comment out those maybe 10 lines from Microsoft, and you can put your own 20 lines of code. Consider this example. So this example is nothing but the overlaying. So this control is there, so you can go and change something what Microsoft is actually providing. Okay, this is the idea. But for extension, we those 30 lines of code will be there. Maybe in that 30 line of code you need to trigger an event, right? So after this I need to trigger an event. So how we will handle it? We will handle it through an event handler. All this concept, previously these concepts are not there, that okay, I can write something on on trigger of an event, or there is something called chain of command. So that will explain later. Those are like bit difficult concept. I will not explain you now. So like whenever you are extending a main parent class, those concepts, those things are coming into the extension model. But for overlaying, that whatever changes you can do, you still can do. But as I said, whenever you will try to create a model, and as I remember, as I said here, everything relates to a model. Model is the primary thing. Whenever you will see, you will do a deployment, you can select your models also, right? All those things are very basic things are tied to model. All this overlaying, Microsoft will throw you error, throw you warnings that that doing creating a model through overlaying is not supported. Okay, so yeah, but to answer your question, we can do, but always we should be going for the extension model. Okay, so the we have these properties and everything, like creating projects and everything that to do now. So I have given a practice scenario. Properties I'll show you, but like I think you have all these project properties. I'll show you once I show you from the system. It will be better for you. But if you see, the key part is this model publisher. This part, a layer is still there, but it's not that relevant now, because in older versions we had this concept of layer, that there are 7 layers: user layer, var layer, cast layer. All these layers were there. One layer was on top of that. So user layer was a very basic layer where actually the users are using, so that is why it called as user layer. You can do a customization on top of that. Then some third party can come and do their customization on top of that. So that layer concept was there, but right now that is not relevant, because everything is tied to the model. So once you create a project, you will see the first thing you should be having is to attach it to a model, or from that model you can go and create a project also. Okay, so these are the key things that we should be looking into. So practice doing, yeah. And element designer, yes, these are the element that this is a small table actually, which I'll show you, and this is how we will be creating the elements. Like it just give you a small screenshot of how it will look like a table. And yeah, so yeah, the elements, actually this is, I'm showing you a property. I should go to the system and show you more. So if you see the properties, it can be these properties varies from element to element. One element can be a table, one element can be a class, and the other element can be our queries also. Okay, so these varies from differ from one element to another element. So this is the screenshot of you're seeing as a element properties of a table. Okay, yeah, so this is one important thing I just want to discuss. So how we are doing the building. So once whenever we are using the doing the deployment. So okay, so as I was saying, if you see, this is a full build operation, correct? If you see the screenshot, this is a full build, and if you see, all these are models. Okay, if you see all these models, Microsoft has created all these models: my application suite, fleet management, application foundation, electronic reporting, application suite adapter, all application platform adapter. All these are created by Microsoft. Let's assume you go and do some changes and create a new model. You can come and you will see your model listing here. This is the first thing. So I should be looking into that, if I can find my model here or not. So I have written some code, I have some metadata, right? So that thing I should be first confirming that maybe in my model I go create and write some logic. Second thing will be to once I do the build, so there are two things, like I can go and do a build, I can do a project build, or I can do a full build. Full build means I can select my models and I can do the complete build, right? And then I can, so this there is something called, whenever the build operation comes, so if you do that build, so it does the code validation. So this is very normal, like it checks if whatever you have written, if all the properties are correctly set, whatever something is there, all those things are correctly set. So based on that, it goes, checks the metadata and X++ code validation. Then it does the best practices check. Best practices mean whenever you're writing some code, Microsoft has the best practice engine working behind it. That means if you're writing the query, how much space the database will be taking, all these things. So that I will discuss later. But this best practice engine is actually is related to all the different object, be it table, be it EDT, be it classes, be it queries, everything is related to this best practices check. And this is a kind of an engine which works at the back end. So once we start developing, you will see there is a window of error window, output window, best practice window. So in the best practice, if you go and click there, so you can see all my best practice results. So if you have written created maybe 10 new objects, Microsoft will show you what are the best practice you should be following. And yeah, one more thing, whenever we are implementing for some client, this is not a like a stopper, or this will not stop you from working for any client or working for any project if you are not following the best practice. That means if you have not followed the best practice, but if you have written the code, maybe it's not ideal, maybe it is not following the all the best practices, but still you can go ahead, do the build. If it doesn't have any error, you can go and deploy it. Okay, and you can use the system also with those changes. It will not stop you anywhere. But as a like ideal case scenario, we should always follow the best practice. And some clients also, they try to maintain the code standard very high, so that whenever there is an audit from Microsoft, and Microsoft picks few of the customers randomly at every year, and they do best practices check and all these things, so that they can certify them. Okay, your implementation standard has been quite well, or the code whichever you are maintaining, you, because these are owned by ultimately the customer, because they are paying the money for it, right? So they would want, they can want that all these objects are at their highest level, so there is no issue in that. So that will, Microsoft is always first go and run a best practice check into all of your object, and they, based on that, you can go and work on the best practice results. Okay, and if you are having a report, so after the best practices is go and do the report RDL generation. RDLs are basically report whenever you are creating the DLL file for the report, SSRS report. So that is a bit technical, but we, these are generated when there is a report is involved, and then it compiles like .NET assembly. So basically the compilation engine, everything has changed. Previously whatever we were developing, it was based on the Morphex development environment, and the compilation engine and everything was based on that. That was the X++ compiler was working behind it. But right now all the compilation and everything we are having from our .NET assemblies. Okay, lastly, the label and resource file generation. Labels are nothing but how you do it, how you want to show something at the front end at the time of user. Let's say you have a let's say, take this example. So we are taking over the naming of, say, see, I have a table called a DV vehicle, right? So if I if the user, or if you go to the ERP and see there is an table called DV vehicle, it doesn't make much any sense to a layman, or to me also, whoever is using the table. So what do I mean by DV, right? They will not understand. So it should be given a meaningful name. Main be vehicle registration database or something like that, right? Which makes sense. So under the backend, the name of the table can be DV vehicle, but at how you want to show it to the front end, how you want to show it to the users, those things are handled by label file, right? And the label file is basically and against the DV vehicle, you can maybe write anything: vehicle registration number, vehicle master details, anything. So you can give that label. So that is the idea of the label. Okay, and after that, the finally the we have the DB synchronization. So whenever you are doing that build, it completely database synchronization happens. Previously if you compare, as we were always comparing previous version, this DB synchronization was no was under our control. We can go and do DB synchronization at our will. It was not handled by Microsoft, as because the database and everything was actually handled by us, right? Because it was a desktop application. All the everything, the servers, database, everything was maintained by us. Microsoft did not have any control over it, so that is why the database synchronization was under our control. And most of the clients, they used to do it on a periodically, maybe at night or something, whenever there is no transactions or users are not there. But right now, if you are doing any changes, doing any deployment in your development environment, whenever you're doing the build, it will do a database synchronization. And one more thing, we do not have the access for the backend, or rather the code part or the virtual machine of test environment and production environment. Okay, so for test and production environment, which is what we call our live environment, we do not have any control over the VM at the backend. So what we do, Microsoft is actually maintaining everything. And at the, as we were saying, this is an IaaS application, because it's infrastructure as a service we are buying. So that infrastructure is, everything is maintained by Microsoft. And those DB synchronization, building model, running the compiler and everything is being handled by Microsoft at their own site, and they have a separate engine for that. Okay, so this is the idea. Okay. Okay, so we'll go to few quick questions, like small 2 or 3 questions. Before that, then we'll go to the architecture. We'll take some questions on this module, and then we can go to the next part. So any questions as of now?
Yeah, Vijay, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Uh, as you said, right, see, like the modules that we extend.
Your voice is not clear. Can you speak a bit louder? Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
As you said, that is like we will creating a module, and what are the changes that we are doing, we will extend it
Uh,
and then deploy.
One
Correct.
thing, I cannot hear you properly actually. Can you write your question? That will be helpful. Is it fine?
Okay, I find out. I will send you a
Yeah.
message. You can reply me.
I do not understand. Okay, is this happening only with me, or everyone can hear his question? So if anyone can understand his question, so can you tell me anyone else?
The same problem. The voice is kind
Same
of.
problem, sir. We are also not getting.
Okay. Okay, then in that case, can you just write it? It would be great for us. So if you can write the question. Okay, so yeah, in that part, so let me quickly share, and we'll go to the quickly few questions we'll take, and I will expect the answers from all of you. Anyone, whoever is following, so please try to answer this, uh, or you can write the answer in the chat window also. So if you can just clear loud and clear, say me the answers. Okay. Okay. So this one, studio project can belong to more than one. Is it possible? Yes or no? Anyone?
False, false. A project
Yeah.
can have belong to one model only.
It's definitely false. As I was saying, the structure, if you like, if you think from the very bottom, we can create any number of element, but all those element goes back to one model only. Remember, always one model or element, and that one model will also for one project, and that project will actually go and relate to one model only. So there is no like one to many relation. It is always one to one relation with project and models. Okay. Okay. So model. What is a model? So ABC. Which one it is?
It's B. Model is
B.
collection of elements.
B, sir.
Yes. Exactly. If you remember the structure, model is a collection of element, and whenever we have those collections, so the last one, this model is a file. This is actually our package file. So this is actually package, and this is the exact definition of the model. Okay. XML file. So any guesses? I think I discussed this today, yesterday, not today. Any guess on this?
I think it is C, sir.
I think
Yeah, it's correct. It's
C.
C, metadata source code. So previously the structure was for my XPP folder, but right now everything is contained in a XML file. So once we should like open the environment, we'll show you how that files are getting created. So yeah, this one just few minutes back we discussed.
It's
Maybe
B.
we haven't
B.
discussed. Yeah, it can be B. Yes, model bit. So
B, sir.
yeah, it is actually whenever we are building all the elements, so regardless whatever we have changed or not, it should be a model build. If you could do that, so under that model, maybe okay, this is how it works. Under that model, if you like two of the developers who are working, me and someone else, and I go and do a model build complete, and all the objects it will also be saved, and it will be giving you the output or errors based on that. Okay. So this is our Visual Studio. So if you just conclude that, so Visual Studio, what are the things we have discussed now till? So very quickly we have discussed our model, element, project, package. This structure we have discussed. We have discussed fields, compiler, all this thing. Then we have shown you how the element structure. So these more or less we have discussed as of now. So then we go to the architecture. So before that, as I was saying, so we need to go and do the do an access of the environment. So let me show you. I'll quickly copy paste this link today. So yeah, so once you have this link, I'll then copy paste it. Okay. So I have given this link. Okay. So okay, for our practice, we have like few options, right? How we can do that. So this is the link which I have given. So if you open this link, this page opens up. Okay, this is the page opens up. So I don't want you to just go and you can go and do that, but hear me out first. So once we start doing our practice, like how we want to do that, this is the easiest way which Microsoft is providing for us to do that. uh, because it launches a VM, online VM with a Microsoft account or your own Gmail account. So if you see this account, this is my normal Microsoft account. There's a free account, no charges, nothing. I can go and use it, this account, and I have the access to use it for 2 hours in a day. Okay, so this is the 2 hours at a stretch. Like, this is the structure, and once ever whenever you are doing the changes for 2 hours, after that those changes gets actually erased, and once you open that environment, it again open up from the scratch. For our development activity, I feel this is the best way to go ahead and do it, because we'll be practicing everything on a 1 hour 2 hour window, right? Whenever we are doing it, for your practice, once you feel you are comfortable, because I feel 2 hours at a stretch, if you are practicing, that is enough for one day as of now for doing. After that, if you feel that you need to learn more on that, so then we can go ahead and like practice more. There is another way of doing it, and that cost some money, and so there are some money involved around it. So this is the free and the easy way of doing. There's another way of doing it, which is a free way also, which is which requires few things. First is, how many of you have Windows Enterprise and Professional version in your laptop? How many of you? All of you have
Which version, sir?
Windows Enterprise version. Windows Enterprise version. Let's say I am using Windows 11, right? So how many of you have Windows 11 Enterprise version? Or someone is using Windows 10, then how many of you have Windows 10 Enterprise version? Maybe 30, 40, 50%, I am guessing, or maybe 60, 70%. No,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Ashok, it's not Windows 11, it should be Windows 11 Enterprise version, maybe 50% of you. So like in previous, my previous batches also have faced this issue, and I don't go for this route also. So yeah, pro version also works. What happens is that Windows Enterprise version, pro version, you can download a VHD file and you can assign some space onto that, and you can work on that. So that is how we can create those virtual machines and everything. The problem with that virtual machine, if you download that and assign some spaces, and it requires a huge like hard disk from your machine gets slow, and once you, if you are not using it, it requires space and all these things. So that is not advisable. And once we are into the session, if we are doing hands-on for 1 hour or stretching it to 2 hours also, then still we have this option and we can go ahead and do that. So that is why we will be using this option for the training. So this is just for our part. So I'll log into the environment. I'll quickly show you the environment and how it look and feel. And for you, the hands-on for this one, we can go ahead and do that tomorrow. So I given you the link. I just quickly log in and show you a few things. And for you tomorrow, we'll log in and then we'll go and create a model and we'll create a basic project. So this is the agenda for tomorrow. So that is why for the first week, this is our first week, right? First 2 3 days we are using actually, right? So that is why I just wanted to see, like wanted to keep it like not so heavy, so just few hands-on session and also with the learning also. So let us, I'm quickly launching the VM. So it takes around 1.5 minutes to launch it. So you can just see the process, and then we'll go and do that. I'm quickly showing it to you today, because tomorrow we'll cover it again. But as I said, we can just need to have that Microsoft account, or any, if you have any other account, that will also work. That is not a problem. But you can again go and create a free account. Okay. So yeah, if you see it is asking for a password, right? How we will, we have to go to resources, and this password credentials is auto generated, right? Microsoft is generating this password. You just need to have this password. You just click on this one, T, and you need to click here. Once you log in, it runs the command prompt, and it actually erases the other part whatever you have developed before, and it is doing that actually right now through the command prompt. You do not have to do anything on that. We are not like we will be doing anything. It just take maybe close to 1 minute, if you, as you are seeing. So it is updating the configuration file, and then it is actually services and everything it is changing. Once that is done, automatically the Chrome window opens up and opens up the environment, and then we can see in the backend whatever is available to us, and this is more than sufficient for our development. So I also right now also, like if I want to do anything, I come and here and do this, like use this environment and do, because if you want to do small customization, that is like 2 hours we can do easily. Okay, so let us do one thing. Once this provisioning tool is going on, so let us start with the architecture so that we are on track. Okay, so it may be taking 2 minutes, so this takes time. So let us start on the architecture part. Okay, okay. So the if you have attended my demo session, so I have quickly gone through the architecture. That day also, but we will discuss it on details. So today, as I saying, so elements in the application stack, server architecture, and we will be a cloud architecture also we will be discussing. Okay, this is the agenda for this architecture. So just to know the basic architecture, it is very important. Okay, so this is the stack. So how the stack is being developed. So we have mainly three blocks. First is the application foundation, application platform, and the application suite. If you remember, in the last slides, in the last few slides, we were showing you how those models and everything were built. If you see, there were models like application suite, application foundation, application platform, right? Why Microsoft is built like that? All our mostly our foundation part, which is our mostly our source document, number sequences, organization models, all this Microsoft keeps in the application foundation. So this is very key for us to understand that whenever Microsoft has built this product, there are some foundation, or there are, or rather some structures or some components which are being used on a day-to-day basis, on a regular basis, right? Or which are actually relevant to all the modules, not for one module, not for maybe our finance module. It relates to our finance, supply chain, inventory, everything, correct? So this foundation, this application foundation is actually having all those elements, because our organization model, number sequences, global address book is actually important, actually very relevant to all the modules. Okay, this is the foundation part. Then we have our platform, which is our how can I say, this is our uh, like a front end part, to put it very simply. So application platform, the platform which are you actually using, it actually has our client window, which is the ERP, what we call, what we are using, our reporting window, and workflow, and the services. All these things are in our application platform. So if you go and see our reporting structure and everything, you will find it in the application platform. And this part, application suite and fleet management, here all our business logic and objects and elements are found out. So whenever I create a project and I do any customization, do any changes, I will see most of the objects, or 95% of the objects are into the application suite. Okay, am I not audible? Hello Ashok, am I not audible?
You are audible, Mitra.
Yeah, it's audible now.
Audible,
Uh,
sir.
Okay,
Mitra,
okay Ashok.
one quick question. If you can just give me a kind of a difference between platform, foundation, and suite, what are these three different concepts? Sorry, maybe basic question, but yeah, I just wanted to know the difference between these layers.
No, not a problem. So you can definitely ask this question. As I said, application foundation is, see, this stack is, if I go and show you from the system, you can only see your models. Okay, you will not be able to understand this stack by just going into the ERP and going into the Visual Studio. So this is an internal structure what I am showing you. So the application suite actually contains all our application objects which we are using on a day-to-day basis. That means, let's say I have created my database, my table, my classes, all these objects. So here we can see all our application objects here in the application suite. So this is the one stack. Then we have the application foundation, which contains all the elements which are actually being used on a, from the structure point, or which are relevant to our the foundation of the project, because global address book, number sequence, organization model, all these objects, or all these, rather all these things are actually very fundamental to all the modules. It's not related to any module. Okay, so take an example. Once I go and create a new model, start a new module. Let's say today I want to implement our sales module, and tomorrow you are implementing your purchase module. What you will be needing? You will be first needing the organization model, all the structure, that is very critical. So that is available for both of us, to me also and to you also. And also you will be needing the number sequences, global address book. Number sequence is nothing but whenever you're creating any order, any customer, that number should be generated automatically, right? So how we handle it, there's a separate engine behind that, it is called number sequence. Then we have the global address book. Global address book is nothing but, once you are creating a customer, vendor, worker, all these are being stored somewhere. It is a kind of an address book, what we call a mobile address book, right? So in those details are being stored, so that is also very relevant to all the models. So again, that is being used in the application foundation. An application platform is nothing but where we are having the services for our workflow, client, and presentation. So if you can see here, from the basic point of view, you can find all the course, all the objects and everything, where whatever we are doing our changes. Application suite, application foundation will have all the number sequences, organization photo, which is very basic for all the models. And application platform will have all the front end part, where we are showing our forms, SSRS report, workflow and services, all these things. Okay, so this is a very basic structure of it. So let me open the environment. I think I can show you. Okay, as I was saying, after this run, Microsoft Edge automatically opens up, and it asks for a credential. So what are my credentials? So if you see, go and see it. 1 second. Yeah, uh, this URL is the ERP URL, whatever we are using, right? And I need a credential. This is my username and this is my password. So this is very basic. So let me type the username. I click on T, click on next, then I click my password. Okay, and always do not remember this password and the credentials. It's never do this and stay no. So if you see this URL, US Conbox AUX on AUX Cloud, this is the same one. So this is my ERP, whatever I was telling you. So this is the front end, whatever in the application. See, if you see the structure, yeah, if you see this, not this one, this one. Yeah, if you see the structure in the application, the client and presentation, this is actually my client, what we call as a client. This is the form, because this is the part we are using it. Okay, so yeah, this is from the login part, which we will explain more and we'll be doing in hands-on, because how to create the Microsoft account. Because apart from that, this login is very simple, very straightforward. There's nothing complex about it. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, so this is my ERP, and here I have all my modules. Okay, if you see, here I have all my modules. As I was saying, this is an integrated solution. So all my modules, if you see my payable, receivable, general ledger, cash and bank, our costing, asset management, expense, fixed asset, everything I can see it from here. So in the, if you remember from the very first demo day, I explained you we have concept of as is study, then to be study, and the functional resources, and then we have the technical resources. As a functional resource, we go study the business of the client, we try to map it with the whatever is available in the product. Take an example, if I go and go to account receivable, and if I, so there is some customer data. So in the, if you open this customer form,
Sir, actually, we are working on the banking application, sir.
yeah, sorry, what?
We are working only banking applications or another any other
No, no, no.
projects.
This application works for every industry. It's not for banking only. So you might be seeing cash and bank management. That is what you are seeing, but this is not right. This is not for banking application. So first of all, this is standalone data which Microsoft provides actually. Okay, so this is not for any banking application. Every organization will have their bank, right? Bank accounts managing the cash and
Yes,
everything.
yes,
So that is why you can
yes.
see
Salary account or something.
yeah, these modules, and these modules, if you see, these are very generic. As an industry, some industry you will not be using all the modules, some industry you will be using. So I'll quickly go through that, but okay, let's, as an example, let's take this customer US001. So if you see this number US001, I was talking about this number sequence, right? If you go and see this number sequence, where it, yeah, number sequence, right? And global address book, I'll show you how you can relate to that. This number is actually, once you create a new customer, this number is getting generated from somewhere. How this is being generated, this is being governed by the number sequence engine. We have this option. If you see the address book, there's an address book, right? Retail customer, this is my address book, organization number, all these things, if you go and see here, you will able to relate. We have this organization model, we have this address book, everything is being maintained here. And right now, as a user, if you come here, you can see and relate those things. So yeah, as the example which I was saying, so if you have this customer data, and if so as a functional consultant, when I am implementing, I know, okay, for my business I need to add a few more fields here, and if I have to add a button here, and if I go and click on this, maybe here I add a button, if I click a button, there is some action to be happened, right? So what we will be doing, I'll be writing all these steps, like what is my requirement, how you are doing. As a technical consultant, we should be knowing, okay, this is my display form. If you right click, see, this is a form info, this is a form called custody, correct? This form is where I can find that form. I can find that form in my backend Visual Studio. There I will go, I will add my field, I will add my button, then I will write my business logic. Okay, based on clicking on that button, some changes will happen into this data. Okay, so this is the idea. So I know what I want as a functional consultant, and you as a technical consultant, you try to map this. Okay, this is my object, this is where I go and do my changes. Okay, so this is from the very broad oversight. And yeah, so ERP, these models, yeah, one more thing, as I was explaining, you can see there are so many models. Previously it was not so many, because some models Microsoft has now actually broken down. So previously inventory warehouse was the one model, right now we have two models. Previously some models, right, questionnaire, tax, and all these things were like transport management was like integrated tab. Some models, and Microsoft has previously, like recently launched, like this we have this what is that, expense management, all these things are previously not there, but functionality wise is more or less same. Okay, if you are confused that there's so many things are going on at the same time, but just remember this thing, all the organization will not need anything or need everything. Let's say as a big organization like Accenture, if someone, Accenture is implementing an ERP for themselves, okay, for themselves. So Accenture, what it does it hold any inventory, does it hold any item? No, right? It doesn't have any tangible item or tangible good. What is that? It has the resources, human resources. And what human resources will do, they will work, they will book their timesheet, and based on that they will charge their money and all these things, right? So this inventory management, planning, material handling, all these things will be irrelevant for Accenture whenever someone is implementing for maybe for Wipro. Those things will be very irrelevant for them. So what will be relevant for them? Finance, general ledger, expense management, account receivable payable, then your project accounting. All these things will be very relevant to Wipro, TCS, these companies whenever they are implementing. If you take an example of Royal Enfield as a like a bike company, right? Aisha Motors, what they do, they produce bikes, and for that, what do they need? They need a complete product life cycle, right? What we call as product life cycle structure. They will need their project part. They will need their inventory management. They will need their rebate management. They will need their retail. All these things. So those modules will be relevant for one company. So once if you have this complete admin access, you can see all the modules, and all these modules are actually interrelated. So this is the beauty of the ERP. But whenever you are implementing, you might not need all the modules. Maybe few modules is relevant for you and few modules is relevant for you. Okay, so this is the idea. Okay, this is from the front end part. So quickly, this is the Visual Studio which I was showing you yesterday. So this is by default, you have this Visual Studio. You go ahead, click on this, and always run this as administrator. And with this version, we get the latest version also for the Visual Studio. That is also an added advantage. So Visual Studio 2019, we always go and we can do that. We can have that. Okay, so let us go and create a new project. So again, we'll do this tomorrow also, but I'm just quickly showing it. If you have this finance and operations project, I can select this one. These are by default, it's showing you the location, the solution name and everything. So let me show you the project name as well. Okay. Yeah. So the thing which I wanted you to see by default it takes a fleet management project. So if you see the properties, it takes a fleet management project. If you go and right click on the properties, model is fleet management. You can change that, but I wanted to show you by default it takes a fleet management. Whatever you are creating, whenever you are creating, uh, it has to have a model linked to it. If it doesn't have a model, then there is a problem. So it in Microsoft is not allowed. If you do not add any model, Microsoft will by default automatically assign the fleet management tool. So the next thing is I come here, dynamic system again, as I'm showing you quickly, but we'll do this all this hands-on tomorrow. Like we'll do this tomorrow also. Okay, I go to my model management, I create a new model. This is what I just wanted to quickly show you. So this layer, we do not consider this layer nowadays, so it's fine. Okay, so okay, here I have these two options: create a new package and select it. Just if you read this carefully, it says create a model that builds into no assembly deployed. It is actually asking you to create a new model again, and not extending. Choose this option to extend the application. So it's basically its own assembly deployed as a separate package. So this model do not have any reference for that. But there is a problem behind it. I'll explain later. We should be using an existing package. And what are my existing package? Okay, 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 here I have this one. By default is selects application platform, and I want you to select application suite. Where is application suite here? Okay, why I'm saying this, because let me quickly create it and explain it to you. Okay, it's this creating. I can select my model here. So this is our model. Okay, why I was saying that I should be selecting application suite and everything, because whenever you are doing any changes, if you go and see all our objects, this is my application explorer, which I showed you also, and we'll see it tomorrow also. This is where all my objects are found. And if you go to any of these objects, let's say if I go and do any changes, or do I want to do any extension and everything, you can see all those tables and everything. Most of them, see this, if you see, there are, see this, I was telling you about source documentation and all these models, right? You will see all these things here, and most of the objects or most of the changes what we do are falling into the application suite category. If you want to do, let's say if I want to show and ask you to do any changes and go into the tax engine, so then you should be using the tax engine, and that will help you to create your object or changes based on the tax engine model. So let's say if I try to find a tax, uh, or let's say I can go on. Okay, I have this model view also. So here I have this tax engine model, and under this model we have all these objects. So if I go and ask you to do any changes on maybe few this table, let's see tax document table. So this is one important table for our India and all the localization. If I ask you to do any changes, see tax. So you should be referencing your mod, your project, or you should be creating your new model referencing tax engine. Okay, but most of the work what we do, we are actually using the application suite as a reference model. We are not using all other, because tax and all these things, these changes come a bit later part. But for most of the part, whatever basic table, edt, enums we will be creating, we will be using the application suite as a foundation model, and based on that we will be doing our changes. Okay, so this is the structure, and the link which I shared to you today, it will help you to access this environment. We will be showing you, so tomorrow first hour will be coming to this part, and we'll be creating a model. All of us will do that, and we'll be creating a project, and we'll be creating few objects and see how this structure works. Okay, and doing a small deployment. So and we'll continue with the architecture part, because for architecture I just wanted to quickly cover the server architecture and the cloud architecture, which I can discuss tomorrow. So yeah, so this concludes our session for today, and I am open for questions. So please go ahead and ask the questions.